right, welcome to the Decentralized Daily Podcast, where you get your daily dose of cryptocurrency news and information. The crypto news that matters to you. Nothing on this program should be confused with investment advice, because we don't give you any. It's not that kind of show, guys. Just the facts here, just the facts. So sit back, relax, gather your thoughts, and prepare yourself for today's market movers in cryptocurrency. All right, guys. Welcome to another edition of Decentralized Daily. Today is Thursday, February the 8th. It is 10:44 p.m. All the good crypto investors have already gone to sleep. We're waiting for the Korean markets to wake up. Let's start and take a look at our coin market cap, top 5 coins by market cap of the day. Coming in at number 1, we got Bitcoin. It's at $8,026. It's up 0.73 in the last 24 hours. We have Ethereum. It's at $800 currently, down 1.28%. Ripple in number 3, our centralized currency, is up 3.37% to 78 cents. I hope you didn't buy it at $3. Bcash, $1,268.95. It's up almost 30%. We'll talk about why that is possibly shortly. Number 5, we got Cardano. ADA, rounding out the top 5, push Litecoin out of the mix in market cap. It's a big move for Cardano. It's at 34 cents, and it's actually down 0.1% right now. Bcash is up 26.36%, while the rest of the market is basically flattish. And a lot of speculation of that is because of the anarchist convention in Acapulco that's going on currently. The Bcash founders are there, and they're pumping the coin. They're pumping it up big so that it has a big showing at this kind of anarchist libertarian conference in Acapulco. And we're probably looking for a sharp decline after this conference is over. So guys, be on the lookout for that. Ride the wave if you wish, but be aware of the tide receding. All right, let's get into some news, a little crypto news today. First, we got an article from the New York Times, the mainstream media. So it says, what Bitcoin reveals about the financial markets. The spectacular increase in the recent plunge in the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies has raised concerns that the bursting of the Bitcoin bubble will cause financial markets to crash. They probably won't, but the Bitcoin bubble should definitely destroy our faith in the efficiency of markets. Prater, that's a pretty bold statement that from the New York Times, that the Bitcoin bubble, they call it a bubble, that's their words, but that it should forever destroy our faith in the financial markets?
Well, mainstream media has been pretty hard on cryptocurrencies throughout, the recent past here. I think it's hard to say, much about the Bitcoin bubble. I mean, because the bubbles burst. We talked about that in our last or was it 2 podcasts ago? How many times technically the Bitcoin bubble has burst?
Right.
So, I think the Bitcoin bubble, I don't even know that I would say there's such thing anymore, because you can't label it a bubble when when the correction happens so many times.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because a bubble, it grows and then it pops.
Yeah.
And this isn't doing that. This is like, if this is a bubble, this is like one of those...
How many times can a bubble pop? I think it's only once.
Yeah, well, yeah. Otherwise, then it just becomes nothing.
Then a new bubble? So we just have multiple bubbles here, I guess.
And it gets bigger and stronger. We should call it the Hydra.
Exactly.
Every time its head's chopped off, it just grows more and more heads. The Bitcoin Hydra. I'm going to coin that here.
But, I mean, you look at the stock market, too. corrections. I mean, a bubble is just a massive correction. Usually, it'll come back. I mean, even the .com bubble. I know we talked about that, and I hate comparing the two, but the .com bubble led to the FANG stock craze. So now you've got Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, and they've been steadily climbing for the past few years. Obviously they don't have quite the upward movement that Bitcoin has, but is that a bubble? I mean, I'm
who knows?
starting to dislike that term more and more.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think too many people use the word bubble to describe something that's going up as a hedge, personally, like a social hedge against being wrong. They can say it's a bubble, and if it continues to go up, they have the kind of backing to just continue to wait and say, well, it's just the bubble's growing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening right now. And then when inevitably something negative does happen, oh God, here it is, it's popped, and then they can really kind of catalyze the FUD and maybe turn it into something that looks more and more like a real bubble.
Yep.
So we got an article here from CNBC. They did an interview with the CEO, Dan Morehead, CEO of Pantera Capital. So these guys are a cryptocurrency hedge fund, and they're up 22,000% since its inception in 2013. Would you like to have been a part of that?
No lie.
So they said, Bitcoin's reached its bottom as crypto funds beat hedge manager funds. So there's such an institutional appetite to get exposure to cryptocurrency and to crypto hedge funds. Bitcoin should surge in the next couple of weeks, Morehead says. That's pretty specific. I mean, this guy's had a hedge fund, or had the presence of mind to start a hedge fund in cryptocurrencies in 2013, and is predicting a surge in the next couple of weeks. Now, maybe he's partial. Obviously, he's got.
Sounds like he's a little partial.
He's a little bullish. But I think this is classic mainstream media. They have found a headline that they wanted to write. Bitcoin reached its bottom as crypto funds beat hedge funds, and they went to interview a person who surely had the perspective that Bitcoin is super bullish right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much I put in this article either. I mean, obviously, like you said, he's probably quite bullish on it. He wants to bring his bottom line up anyways. But hedge funds, in my eyes, you look at them, and I could be incorrect on this statement, but most hedge funds don't even beat the S&P 500. And maybe it was one that said that. And like I said, I might be putting words in somebody's mouth that aren't even true, but because I haven't done a lot of research into that in quite a while. But you get what is the average S&P build over the year? Is it 10%? Is 8%, 10%, something like that? And hedge funds, I mean, their main goal is to beat the S&P 500. So if you have a cryptocurrency hedge fund and just the rise in cryptocurrencies, they are going to blow hedge funds, standard hedge funds out of the water, because in a hedge fund, you're basically looking for 8% every year.
Yeah, I totally agree. Speaking of Warren Buffett, I read a quote from him today that said that the financial markets are what they actually are is patient people taking money away from impatient people. And I thought that was really powerful, particularly after this last big drop that we've had. So if you had the patience and you had the presence of mind to stick around and stay around through this, we call it hodling, right? It's the new meme terminology in the crypto space, but it's the same thing as it's always been, right? Have you had the strong hands to stick around? And those of us who did, we're reaping the rewards right now. And those of us who had the presence of mind to actually buy a little bit down on the dip was actually pretty tasty too. So we found another article from ccn.com. Don't want to confuse it with CNN.com. This is a crypto source. The headline is Dark Web users ditch Bitcoin for Litecoin due to costly, slow transactions. So slow transaction times and high fees are causing Dark Web users to favor Litecoin and to a lesser extent Dash over Bitcoin. A new report by Recorded Future, which is a threat intelligence company, has found that dark web criminals began turning away from Bitcoin in 2017 because of slow processing and high fees. So I heard that the fees were up to around $59 per transaction at the height when Bitcoin was around the $20,000 range.
Yeah, the fees really got up there. And this was another thing we covered in a past podcast when we talked about the Starbucks ICO for the Starbucks picking up a cryptocurrency for payment. It's just the payment times on Bitcoin and the transaction times on Bitcoin are so slow that, you know, as a day-to-day transaction coin, it's probably never going to make it unless the advent of the Lightning Network changes something there. But I just found this article interesting because you would have thought that Dash or maybe Monero or one of those privacy coins would have kind of pushed up over Litecoin, because Litecoin's just not seen as a privacy coin. And I don't know a whole lot about the dark web, but you would think that
don't lie.
Yeah, I'm on it all the time. But you would think that they would want to use a coin that, you know, allows them more privacy, and even over Bitcoin. Not that Bitcoin isn't somewhat private, but just the nature of the dark web, you would want the most privacy possible out of your transactions. So just the fact that they were using Bitcoin and Litecoin is interesting to me.
Yeah, I think to me that brings up another kind of a broader point too. If Bitcoin, so if this article is correct and Bitcoin is still the primary use on the dark web, that makes me think that a lot of the articles surrounding that Bitcoin's lost its anonymity are maybe exaggerated, because I mean, surely it can't be the number one coin on the dark web and then followed by Litecoin and then followed to a lesser extent in the article it says to Dash, if it's lost all its anonymity. And maybe that was propaganda. Maybe that was information put out to try to kind of combat this dark web use. I know when I buy my used Soviet grenades, I always go straight Bitcoin.
Well, also, one good thing, I mean, if you could say good thing about this is, you know, any usage or the uses that you're going to get from these nefarious purposes, you know, is going to drive some upward momentum in the coins that they're being used. These coins are going to be purchased. They're going to be used. They're going to, and as bad as that sounds, you know, if you happen to own Litecoin and it gets picked up by the dark web as the number one coin being used on it, that's probably going to help its price movement go up.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything necessarily nefarious about that, because I think you could say the same thing about the U.S. dollar. Guarantee you, all the drugs that move into this country and all the weapons and things that move into this country, they're people getting big bushels of cash, or at least according to Hollywood, right? So I'm just picturing like a freight ship loaded in cash that's in plastic Ziploc bags.
I forget where I read it at, and it was an article. It might have been a New York Times article. I'm not sure, but they referenced cryptocurrencies as $100 bills, because on a day-to-day basis, people don't normally use $100 bills. What do $100 bills mostly get used for? Purchasing drugs. guns, stuff like that. People carry around $100 bills. You get them for your birthday, you get them for holidays and stuff like that. But on a day-to-day basis, very few people actually purchase things and use the $100 bill for pizza, cigarettes, booze, whatever.
Yeah, that's a very good point. A lot of people don't like to carry around $100 because the probability of you losing $1 is maybe low, but it's there, and you'd probably much rather wash that $1 bill in your pants pocket than your $100 bill for sure. So in this article, it said that actually there was a poll, and I don't know how they do this either, but ccn.com. So the poll of several hundred members on a criminal forum found that there was no agreement on which coin to adopt. So I guess they interviewed a lot of criminals and said, which coin do you like to do your illegal purchases in? The poll revealed the following coin preferences: Monero at 21%, Dash at 20%, Ether at 19%, I'm rounding for those of you doing the math, Litecoin at 15%, Bitcoin at 13%, and Bcash at 9.7%. So it says during the next 12 months, Recorded Future found Bitcoin remained the most frequent used coin, followed by Litecoin. So maybe that does make sense because they did a poll, and the poll said that Bitcoin was second to last. But when they actually looked at kind of the frequency of what was trading over the network, it looked like it was Bitcoin. So maybe they are criminals after all. They lied in the poll.
Yeah, they're throwing you off of their trail.
Right.
We want to use Bitcoin, and they're actually using Monero. So.
Yeah, I mean that actually is kind of smart. I mean, if you have, look, if you have 5 different privacy coins, plus you've got Bitcoin, which is difficult, Bcash, difficult. All the cryptocurrencies are difficult, right, to trace and track. So if you spread it out that much, I mean, if you assigned one agent to look over each coin, I mean, you're hiring lots of different agents. You're spreading any group that's trying to watch this out pretty thin. So maybe I don't know. Maybe that's the strategy. You just flood the market with so many different options that they don't know which one to trace.
From what I understand, you can make any cryptocurrency hard to track. They apparently throw it into some sort of mixer that sends it out in all these different directions and then combines it back and sends it back to the address, making it very difficult for any agency to track where all that went and came back to.
Well, I think that makes sense so then if they're having such trouble with Bitcoin, can you imagine the slow transaction times that we're having with Bitcoin, coupled with trying to circulate this coin through maybe 3, 4, 5 different mediums and have it come back to you? I mean, that would just exponentially increase the time that it took to get back to you. So,
some patient criminals out there waiting a week to get their Bitcoin. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, you guys are standing there in a room. One guy's got a chainsaw.
The guy's holding your grenades,
yeah. And you're just waiting for Tony Montana to bust out. All right, guys. Look, I appreciate you guys showing up for another episode of Decentralized Daily, coming at you every single day of the week, of the business week. Check us out on Tumblr now. We're on iHeartRadio. We are on iTunes officially now. Check us out on Facebook at D-Talk Podcast and on Twitter at D-Talk Podcast in association with CoinEdify.com. Prater, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You guys have a great night.